Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from JennyCardDesigns. Thanks so much for stopping by to spend some time with me here today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting, tutorials, and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. As we prepare for our wedding coming up in a few weeks, I haven't had much time to create a ton of content. So today I wanted to share with you my process for one of my wedding favors. So I've got this cute little wedding favor using these lavender candles and some cardstock and some embellishments. And it's a pretty simple project, but I think it's a really cute gift that kind of won't be tossed away because, anybody who loves scented candles will love these beautiful lavender candles. Okay, so I've got these labels here that I create on my computer. I've showed you guys this before. I'll link to a video on the site where I use to design these labels for free. So I've got our names and date on there. I'm going to be using some cardstock, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm using. I don't end up using that large die. But so we'll start with this piece of cardstock. I'm going to cut it down to 4 1/4 inches by 11. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm going to need. I haven't made these before, so this is I'm just learning as I go. So I'm going to make one, and then once I figure out the measurements for one, then I will complete the rest in a production assembly line. So I'm going to take some candles and I'm going to slip them into this little zippered bag. I do have 6 in here now, but I'm going to end up taking one out. But for now, I'm going to measure just with my pencil, sort of a guide on how much space I need for my little bag of candles to fit on this cardstock. So I want to have maybe a 2 inch or 1.5 inch sort of folding over border where I can put my sticker on. And the cardstock that's left over, I figured I could use that to insert inside of my little bag to give sort of like a spot for those candles to sit on. And then it sort of creates a little bit more of a sturdy base for those candles. So I figure I'm going to need a piece of cardstock that measures about 3.5 inches. So I'm going to cut that down to 3.5 inches off of one of my panels. I'll slip that in behind my candles, and then that fits perfectly. I'll set that aside for now and then work on this piece. So I'll take my scoreboard and I'm going to score where I've got that pencil mark because I know that's where I want my card to fold. So I'll score that with my score tool and I'll erase my pencil lines. And then next I want to kind of make sure that everything is going to fit. So I bring my candles back, I put it on top of my little cardstock and fold over, and I'm not happy with the way that's sort of covering those candles. So I'm going to create a little bit of a lip here. So I'm going to score at 5 1/4 inches. We'll go over the measurements again in just a moment. So I'll get that scored. And then this way we've got sort of like a spot where it can fold over without causing any pressure or sort of be sticking up and look weird. Okay, so this is where I decide that we don't need 6 candles and then we're going to go with 5 instead. So I'm going to take out one of those candles, and I really like the way this turned out. After I put the 5 candles in, it was easier to maneuver and it wasn't so tight inside of the bag. And then I have to come back and trim that little piece of cardstock to 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches to fit in behind my candles. So I'm going to pull that little piece out and I'll trim that down to 3.5 inches. It's 3.5 inches by 4 1/4 at this point. I'm going to cut it down to 3.5 by 3.5 and I'll slip that inside of my little bag and close it up, and then I'm happy with that. And now it's going to fit a bit better. So now at this point I have to trim off just a little bit off of that little closing flap so everything will close nicely. So I'll bring my cutter back in and I'm going to cut this down to 7 inches. Super happy with that. So now I've got everything the way I think that I want it. It looks good and the candles are going to fit and it's got a nice little fold over. Super happy with that. Now we've got our measurements. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to cut out all of the measurements while the numbers are fresh in my head. so that I make sure that I've got everything. So I'm going to cut out as many as I need, and I'll cut this piece of cardstock down to 7 inches, and then I'll take that little scrap that's left over and I'm going to cut that down to 3.5 by 3.5. I'm going to take the full size sheet of cardstock to show you the measurements one more time, and I'll cut it down by 4.25 inches, and then cut one of those pieces down to 7, and then that small piece that's left over down to 3.5 by 3.5. And now I'm going to move over to my scoreboard, and I'm going to put this piece of cardstock in my scoreboard and score at 5.25 and 5.5. So again, that's 5.25 and 5.5. And I'll do that for all of my cardstock for as many favors as you want to make. Now I'm going to take those little pieces and I'm going to do some embossing. This is a Cuttlebug embossing folder with some cute little hearts on it. So I think just adding a little bit of texture inside will just be a nice effect. So I'll emboss all of my little squares, and then I'm going to take a pigment ink pad. I like the Lawn Fawn Yeti pigment ink pad. I think it's a nice pigment ink and it's got a nice white coverage to it. So I'm going to take this Nuvo blending brush and I'm just going to ink up my brush with some of that pigment ink and just brush over top so that the pigment ink will catch on the edge of the embossed hearts and it creates a nice soft look. So I'm going to do that to all of my inserts. And now I'm going to pull in this Hero Arts background stamp. I love the way that this background stamp looks, just as to add texture to the cardstock in behind. I think it's really pretty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink up just the top flap. So I'm going to fold on the second score line. I'm not going to fold the first score line yet, just the second score line. And I'm going to ink up a piece of this background stamp, and I've just laid it on its back. It's just sitting there. It's not stuck down or anything like that. So I'll ink up my stamp nice and good. I'm going to set that little flap right on top of my stamp and use a scratch piece of paper here to help me so I don't get ink all over my fingers. And I'll just rub over top of that piece of cardstock and then lift up, and perfect. So we have a nice soft look on the top of this piece of cardstock. I think it's really pretty. So I'm going to use my heat tool just to heat set that to make sure that the pigment ink is dried and I don't get it all over my fingers. And now we'll move over to the labels. I decided I wanted my labels to sort of be backed on this purple cardstock. And I like the way that that looks. So I'll get that all trimmed out. And now I'm going to switch my little card in the back of my candles over to my embossed heart card. Okay, looks super cute so far. And then I'm going to get this adhered onto this piece of cardstock. And to adhere it, I'm just going to use one staple, and I'll make sure the bag is right where I want it in the center, get everything kind of hulled over together, and I fold on that second score line to create that little folding closing flap. And then I'll adhere my little sticker right over top of this staple so that you don't see that staple. And then I'm going to put a piece of tape in behind on my little baggie so that it doesn't slide around. Once everything was taped together, I didn't want those candles to move, so I stuck those down, and then I was really super happy with the results. And I grabbed some of these gems. These are Pretty Pink Posh Purple Pansy, and then I've got some really nice white pearls. So I'm just going to embellish all over the top using that nice soft pearl and this sparkly purple gem. It's so pretty. I just like the combination of the two. It looks so classy and elegant. Okay, so here's a close-up look at my little candle favor. And I really love this. It's so pretty and cute, and I think it's a favor that people will enjoy. I love the smell of these candles. They're so pretty. So if you want to step this up one more notch, you can take a little bit of ribbon and tie a bow if you're good at tying bows. I am fantastic at tying knots, so that's the route I am going to go. And I tie this little knot on the center of my candles, and that's it. Super cute. I hope that you enjoyed this video on my wedding favors, a DIY candle wedding favor. I enjoyed making them, and I hope that the guests to my wedding will enjoy them as well. I will continue to try to bring content when I can, as per usual. There may not be as much as I normally post, but I'll do my best to keep you guys sort of entertained. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. And also thank you to all the really kind words that everyone has been leaving on my Facebook page in regards to my upcoming wedding. I appreciate the lovely well wishes and nice things that everyone said. Carrie and I are really happy that everybody has been so kind and helping us expedite our wedding. I think he might be a little bit more excited than I am. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But he helped me pick out flowers and he's been really great. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate all of the support. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.